And are we recording? Already? Oh, we're good. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order and we'll receive comments from the public. Any comments from the public? No comments from the public. Item number 3 is to consider and act on request for adjustments to or relief from the specific charges imposed by the district. Nothing? All right, very good. Moving on to the consent agenda. I do have a couple of questions on the financial report. So if we can just pull item number 5 out of the consent agenda, if you guys have no objections. I just have a couple of questions on that. And then other than that, we can approve the consent agenda items 4, 6, and 7. If we can maintain a motion to.
So move.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds on the floor to
Third.
accept the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item number 5. I just had really 2 quick questions. One is on page 14 of the packet, which are from the changes to the accounts. On the net change of 1,570,000, was that for debt payment for this period? And all of it was for debt payment?
If it was a debt service account, then correct.
All right, and so that's what all this is. And then I noticed on page 9, I guess these are the summary of the debt. This is just for MUD 39, and I just want to get a handle on this. So we have 2 bonds that are retiring or maturing in 2026 and 1 in 2040. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to understand that. And then my last question had to do with the money that we took in on page 5, the revenue, the $1,038,531. I know that was the money that we received from the developer for the annexed property in anticipation of the expenses. And I see the expenses of $1,019,000. Are we going to incur that other 18 million or whatever it comes out to be? I mean, 18,000, or is this going to be the?
18,000 other revenue, that's other revenue for some fees that we collect that goes into that account. It could be just miscellaneous items. Nothing to do with that payment.
Okay, but I'm talking about the payment specifically. So the 1,038,000 minus the 1,019,000, the difference, are we going to incur that expense?
Oh, it's not an expense, it's revenue to the district.
Okay, that's my question. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, so can we entertain a motion to accept item number 5, the financial reports as presented?
Motion to accept number 5.
All right. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to accept item number 5, the financial reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Regular agenda item number 8, acceptance of resignation by Director Kevin Pollock from the Board of Directors. Most of you know Kevin has moved back to Pennsylvania to be with family. He had a little girl not too long ago, a year and a little bit now, so I guess they were feeling a little homesick. And the little girl was wanting to be with her grandparents and aunts and uncles. So Kevin has moved back. So we now have a vacant spot on our board in Kevin's position. So we did want to recognize Kevin for his efforts and for his dedication to the district. I think he served 2 or 3 years. I don't know the exact number, but he was very good in his service to the district, in that he was thoughtful in his process and his questions, and he really put the effort forth. So we'd like to recognize Kevin for his service. Sorry that he's not here to be with us, but Eric has an award to we're going to ship it off to Kevin. But anything, Eric, you want to just read it? And
I would. It says, our sincere thank you and appreciation for exceptional leadership and dedicated service to Montgomery County Municipal Utility District number 39 from November 2021 to October 23.
thank you.
And it's got his name and Bones Water. We went to this earlier this year, and it's been nice. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get his forwarding address and we'll ship it to him.
And I have it. I meant to bring it today. I forgot, but I'll get it for you. So Kevin, I know you're listening because you're going to get this recording, because I'm going to tell you that you got some accolades today. So thank you for your service. And there's your report. There's your award. So thank you. All right, item number 9, discuss the appointment of a new director to fill the vacancy on the board of directors and authorize any action necessary in conjunction therewith.
So this is, now we officially have a vacancy. We received the letter of resignation effective as of October the 10th. And so now the board has the discretion to be able to appoint a replacement. It's really at your discretion how you want to handle that replacement process. Y'all have gone through this before, so.
And I think at this point that I know of, we only have one interested party. Possibly Sean knows somebody who may be interested, and we could certainly entertain that person as a possible replacement, unless we know of any others that we.
There was some farmers in Brenham that, felt $100 a month,
Hey, as long as they bring ice cream with them every time, they're good to go. 1 gallon of ice cream once a
Wow.
month. That's all it takes.
Yeah, that really trumps the guy in my neighborhood.
Yeah, really,
Wow.
because he has nothing to bring but dedication and service. Brian, are we crunched for a time frame or anything? Just,
No, I mean, you don't want it to go on for too long because of course you gotta have 3 for a meeting, so you don't have much margin for error if you have one
Right.
person out of town.
right.
That's, you can afford to be able to call your meeting, so.
Okay.
There's not a legal timeframe when you have to have it by a certain date, but certainly we encourage you to do it as soon as you can.
Okay.
For a candidate, is there anything specifically that we need to meet? Like do they have to have any requirements or any absolute no's or anything like that? I've never gone through this. I was just voted in.
Yes, so I mean, there's basic statutory requirements to be able to be a director that's applicable to everybody. You gotta be 18 years of age or older, not be finally convicted of a felony,
Okay.
competent, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
You also have to either own land subject to taxation in the district, or you have to be a resident of the district.
Okay.
And then the other main kind of that's on a case-by-case basis is that you can't have certain conflicts. So if they do business with the district, if they are a relative to a certain number of degrees of another board member, you can't be a director if there's a relationship with one of the consultants, family or potentially business, then that would be an issue. But outside of that, that's very fact specific. So
Yeah.
we would have to cover that topic individually with the candidate. But that's not typically an issue, but can be. But those are the main requirements.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, just maybe go and have coffee with him, introduce the topic and see what their thoughts are.
If it's interested, you could have an next month's agenda for each of y'all to be able to meet a candidate and be able to consider, maybe send a resume in advance. That's usually what we do is get the resume in advance. Eric and Shelley put that in the packet for y'all to look at in advance. And go from there.
So are we having a meeting in December?
That's up for debate, probably. We were gonna talk about that at the end of the meeting, but essentially, I think last year, my understanding is, not all the modes met. And if there's not a heavy agenda or anything really, then I'm okay to not have one, but that's up to the board. If you want to, we will.
So would we be okay if we started the process at the November meeting, entertaining candidates and then made a decision in
That'd
January?
be fine.
Are we okay in the time frame with that? Are you guys okay with that? If we did that, Sean, is that all right?
Yeah, no, that's fine. So, if by the November meeting, we had a resume and, just to kind of talk about the topic.
Probably want to get the resume by the Wednesday before the meeting week, so by the day of the trustee meeting, so that staff had enough time to put that in the packet.
So now that we're down to 4 members, are we now subject to the rule of not being able to congregate 2 of us where it used to be 3?
No,
or-
it's always 3.
Okay.
It's a quorum of the board membership, not
Gotcha.
necessarily
Not
who's seated at the time.
Perfect. Okay, so if we wanted to, we can meet with them
Okay.
jointly. If you.
Yeah, I was worried about that. All right.
Okay. All right, good. Any problem with you guys with that time frame? Okay. All right, very good. Well, then we'll certainly put the search out there and see if we can get Kevin's replacement. All right, moving on to item number 10, receive the regular monthly SJRA Woodlands Division report, including updates on operations, projects, and public outreach. Chris?
Take 10 and 11 together, if that's okay.
Sure.
So there's really no update on item number 10. It kind of goes back to the AC water lines that we've talked about at the previous MUD meeting. So just a quick update. Last month, we talked about pausing the AC water lines to move forward with this condition-based assessment testing. Majority of the MUDs did agree with that. Did not object to it. So what our plan is now is we're currently looking for a consultant to help us put the scope of work together and get an estimated cost. We'll bring that back to the MUDs in early 2024, probably February, March. Besides that, I have no other updates unless you have any questions.
All right, so let me just put it in the record that item number 11 that Chris talked about was considering act on additional research by San Jacinto River Authority on the AC water lines. And you guys are reaching out for a consultant on that. All right, very good. So moving on to item number 12, receive the attorney's report.
Not much this month. We're monitoring the legislative session. First blush, it doesn't look like there's going to be anything considered that would impact the special purpose districts in the Woodlands, but if that changes, we'll let you know.
All right. Well, you guys are just zipping through this agenda.
13, I need to cover with y'all as well.
Okay.
There was one thing on number 10 that I just wanted to mention to y'all. When I mentioned that the trustees meeting, it didn't really, wasn't real important to them.
You want to
'cause-
do that during the trustee report?
I would.
Is that okay to put it in there, or do you need it?
No,
Okay,
that's perfect.
all right. So we'll take that up when we get to item number 16, Sean. Okay, so item number 13 is the annual review of policy FIN 10 regarding investment and distribution of district funds and adoption of a resolution and amended policy in connection therewith.
Okay, this item is an annual item that you consider. The Public Funds Investment Act requires that the district conduct a review annually of your investment policy and make any necessary changes. Our firm conducts that review on behalf of all of our district clients and makes recommendations to our boards as to whether any changes are necessary. This year, we really don't have much. We're cleaning up a little bit of the language in the representations that a bank and a third-party custodian that holds collateral for a bank have to make to the district that are required statutory representations that they won't boycott Israel, energy companies, do business with Iran, Sudan, some of these other countries. So we just cleaned up that language a little bit, but nothing material. We do need a motion to adopt the resolution evidencing we've completed the annual review and to adopt the amended policy to incorporate those changes.
Okay, and I don't think there's a copy in the packet, but it says a copy was on
Drive, so
the
it's
Google
pretty
Drive.
thick. Policy itself was thick. The red lines were very minimal.
Okay. All right, so we need to entertain a motion to accept the policy as adopted or as changed.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jim, in a second. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to accept the amended policy as adopted, or adopt the amended policy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brian. All right, item number 14, consider an act on the tie-in to the MUD 39 ditch from the RV park in the Glen Eagles neighborhood.
So not a whole lot has changed other than we have some additional information on some survey data, although we just got the estimate from LJ this week on what they think it would cost. Their proposal is not to exceed $15,000 to do the survey. Mike and I felt like that seemed a little bit high, but as they explained it, and we agree that when you're going out to an area that hasn't been really there in a long time, it could be difficult to find your benchmarks and find your setup points. And so there's some extra money in there in case that's problematic for them to find a good benchmark to then loop back to the area that we need them staked. And so I think we both agree and feel comfortable that we need that data to be able to understand where this property line truly sits. to identify whether or not their improvements are in our property or not. And so that's what we talked about last month. And so the proposal today would be to consider or allow for LJ to do that, not to exceed that $15,000. I want to watch close because what we really just want them to do is set some stakes on the property line to identify where we can see if they clearly are encroaching or not. Anything I missed there, Mike?
Now, and one more thing, that we did get a set of plans from Ron Sankowski on Friday.
That's right.
We're going through those now, to actually show some drainage, show proposed structures. So we'll have some review comments on that hopefully by the end of the week.
And I know at one time we had asked the developer to provide what they were using, what they thought that the lines were. Did they provide their view of it?
On those drawings, there's,
They did, on the drawing, and they verified it in the field. We went out there and looked at it physically in the field. It just still doesn't look right to us. That's the verification we're looking for from our guys, just to make sure they're not encroaching on our.
And what kind of time frame would the LJ take to do the survey and get a definitive answer, I guess? Are we holding them up from anything at this point while we're waiting on this, or what, how does that process
The
work?
RV guy.
Yeah, the developer.
You may have saw that fellow Roy Armani that was here. He's in Israel right now, so he may be stuck. And he's a developer.
Okay,
so ideally we get the survey and survey data completed here in the next 2 to 4 weeks or so. And then once we've had a chance to go out there and see with our eyes and assuming they can verify the property line pretty quickly, then we should be able to then make some decisions
Gotcha.
on what to do next.
and so once we get that survey, is that pretty definitive? I mean, once that's a done deal after that? And what happens if in their process, it exceeds the $15,000 budgeted cost? Do we come back and have to adjust that cost, or we?
No, well, they've identified to us as a not to exceed.
Oh, okay,
So a lot of times they'll do that when there's a lot of unknowns
right.
and just to say, here's a cap. And so, yeah, no, it's a MT not to exceed.
And so the expenditure of the $15,000 is not an issue for us in terms of the budget and the budgeting process
No,
financially, okay,
other than just it's an extra cost to deal with this.
which is what we had to do with the Donwick repairs too. That was a cost we didn't see, so. And they all seem to be around $15,000, all these unknown costs.
It starts there.
Totals, yeah.
So, all right, so at this point, we don't have to do anything in terms of taking any action.
Other than, I don't know that we need a formal motion to authorize the expenditure of the survey funds. I don't think you do.
Yeah, it didn't seem like if it's something that we need to do.
Yeah, unless we hear otherwise, we're gonna go.
Yeah, end of your.
Yeah, okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Item number 15, receive and act on the general manager's report.
All right, good morning. Pretty quick today. Don't have any action items to cover. Wanted to just point out in our report a couple items. There are a couple articles on drought and leak in the area, leaks from City Easton and others. There are some customer praise stuff in here as well. Wanted to report we've had 4 water line leaks across the Woodlands in the last 4 weeks. One of those was AC. The other 3 were PVC. As the ground is shifting from drought and constriction to wet, as it started raining, that ground is moving. And so that's typically what will happen this time of year when you have those changes. I wanted to let you know that I aired on Between the Trees last week with JJ Holly and the chamber. So that should be, it's up and running on the Woodlands Online Facebook page. And I think you can find it through the chamber. And as of a couple days ago, it still wasn't listed on the Woodlands Online website, but it will be. And it is episode 120. So there was some information just about me and about the Woodlands, some different things. Good listen. And then with that, that's all I had. Wanted to kick it over to John.
Before you move to John, can I ask you a couple of questions in your report? Because it may be relative to what John's going to go over. I don't know, but you have a couple of paragraphs here about the lead and copper rule revisions. Can you just kind of touch on what that is? I mean, I read through this and is it just a new way to measure lead and copper? And
Significant. The EPA came down a couple years ago with with some new rules, basically lowering the limits by which you can find lead and copper tested in your system. And the rule basically states that by October of 2024, you must have created an inventory of your entire system, all the service leads to the houses and all the users, as well as your system, to identify if you have any lead and copper piping. If you do identify that you do, then you must put a plan together to resolve that. And so we've got to, we have almost, 34,000 connections across the Woodlands that we're going to need to identify all of them, whether there is potential lead and copper service leads in those. We can carve out a lot of them that are beyond 1989 because that material wasn't allowed to be used after a certain date. So that cuts a bunch of them. But then we really will need to dig into, any construction that was done prior to that. So we've been talking with a couple of different consultants that kind of work through this. And we will be doing that for all 10 MUDs. There was monies in the budget this year to cover that, cover that inventory development.
So for MUD 39, though, all of the residential was done after that date and most of the commercial was done after that date. So it really shouldn't be too much of an issue for us, right? Okay.
I don't expect much there.
Okay. And then my question, next question was a little confusing to me as well, was this UCMR 5. Can you just give us a little bit of a highlight on that?
It's what they call the unregulated contaminant monitoring rule. They're testing for what they call these PFAS, the quote unquote forever chemicals that have been detected in groundwater and water supplies. So we're testing all the districts. There's a certain schedule we're testing on. I forget what your schedule is. But you test, it's a 6 or 8 month window where you'll test. We've hired East Tex Environmental Laboratories to do our sampling, collections of those tests. There's 29 different forever chemicals that they're testing for. So far, the districts that have been tested, all those limits have been, or all the chemicals found have been well below the maximum limits, with the exception of lithium. Lithium is a little high, and we're looking to find the source, if we can, of that. It could be just lithium grease used in the well. But that's what it's for. And then we'll have to report that on our consumer confidence report the year after we get our results.
And Mike, how do these chemicals get into if they were to get in, how would they get in? Just, is it naturally occurring or is it something
No,
that?
they're man-made chemicals. I think one of the biggest contributors is this fire foam that leaches into the groundwater. And this is foam that's been used worldwide for firefighting.
Mhm.
It's determined to be one of the biggest sources.
Oh, wow.
Others are
Fire retardant clothing. So that chemical that's what helps some of those fire retardant rain jackets and things like that. Not fire retardant, waterproof rather,
Mhm.
clothing. It'll have that apparently.
Okay, so like the FRE clothing that the people wear at the plants,
I'm sorry?
yeah,
Potentially.
yes, I mean, areas that would have people that use that a lot, I would imagine, like Texas City, Baytown,
Yeah.
that could potentially be a higher issue than here, because there's more usage of those materials.
I guess my main question is, within MUD 39, are there any significant areas that would lend to the probability of causing some leakage or some chemicals seeping into the water lines or whatever? So we're pretty normal, I guess is what I'm getting at, right? We're not gonna have any issues to worry about or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah, Halliburton, we've got the Halliburton there. We don't know all of them.
Yeah.
They're-
And so, according
Procedures are-
according to the write-up that Eric provided, it said MUD 39 would begin sampling in January of 25. Is that still the target date?
that's the-
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sorry, John. And I noticed the letter from the resident was about something that she received from your information that was sent out.
Of
So,
the weekly.
yeah, congratulations on that.
And actually to tack something on to the LCRR, there are public education requirements, tied into that. We're well aware of those. Good. Well, all right, so, page 43 of your packet, we have the communications report. Last month, I shared with you some of our observations as far as public comments. We were seeing a lot of that tied to drought, our water bill. Obviously, those didn't just go away, with weather change. We continue to see a lot of traffic, especially on social media, surrounding rates, surface water, a lot of misinformation, a lot of lack of information. We take that seriously. Most of that, the vast majority, certainly on social media, coming from outside our boundaries. I think that's important to note. But there is the risk of that influencing our customers. So we have been, and we will continue to put out more information on those topics. And you'll see that reflected in the packet here. I want to note that as directors, you can play a key role for us in furthering these messages. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to just share our stuff. Right. So if you like a particular newsletter or magazine article or social media post, please share that with your friends, with your online network. And please return comments to us. We want to know what you're hearing. That's really important for us. And as always, you're invited to come out and join us at a public event. Yeah, Sean.
I have a question for Brian on sharing publicly and things like that. In my day job, I have restrictions against doing that for financial means, but on the water board, I'm assuming that's perfectly legal for us to share, to repost something that we see coming in from Woodlands Water.
That's all public information. If you're talking about your personal account,
Right.
repost something that's been put out by Woodlands Water, yes, that's all public information. That's not proprietary. That
Okay.
would be for
I
sure.
just want to make sure that that's not unethical or anything like that. Okay.
And encouraged also.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
The more the merrier. seriously.
good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go over the events calendar with you here in just a second. Again, you're always welcome, encouraged to join us out there. Great way to interact with folks and just get more information, what people are thinking. Moving on to the infrastructure renewal communications front. So Holloway's in hand. They're at work right now on a needs assessment, which is going to form a strategic plan. We'll have that plan by the end of January, and then we'll start implementing it immediately after. So you'll see some things are working right now, and you'll see some produce here after the beginning of the year. Okay. Just a couple pieces I wanted to highlight here, make sure you're aware of. We are starting notification on the impending rate adjustments that will take effect January 1. So coming months, Bill will have that on the backside. We'll be pushing those announcements out through other means as well. So just heads up on that.
Don, in that communication, will you at the same time highlight the fact that some MUDs have lowered their tax burden at the same time they're raising their water rates?
So, the bill does not include that. Limited space there, but that is something that we can weave into like emails and so forth, where we have a little more room to note that. I think giving the full context and the fact that, we haven't raised, we haven't implemented rate adjustments in since 2014, is that correct?
Mhm.
I mean, we passed on
Retail
increases, but
Right.
retail rates, so. All important context. Okay, all right, Woodlands Community Magazine, tying into what I talked about initially there, we have an article out right now on the surface water conversion fee and the GRP. And then next month, we will have one coming out that's on November 1st, Keys to Understanding and Lowering Your Woodlands Water Bill. I'll be emailing these major pieces to you, just to make sure you're seeing it, so you're ready for questions when these things come out. And finally, that calendar at the end there on page 46, where we're going to be here in the next month or two. It is missing one. We're going to be at the Cochran's Crossing Fall Festival this Sunday from 1 to 4. That's at Shadow Bend. That's not on your calendar. Everything else on there is accurate.
And did you put the College Park Village Association on the 28th?
I've not
Yeah.
heard anything.
Okay.
So that,
Yeah, it's on the
Okay.
28th from 1 to 4. I don't know if you guys
okay, I
want.
thought I was kind of waiting on an email, but should I reach back out or?
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask you to email me, John, if you will, the links, because the College Park Village Association is revamping its website. And one of the pages on the website will be links to various other entities throughout the village, and one being the MUD. So anything that you want the residents to have a link to through a different means than what you're sending out, if you'll send me those links, I can send that over to the person that's redoing our website. And then she can include all of those, whatever links you want to include as it relates to the water,
That's great.
you know, so let me know.
Take advantage.
Yeah.
And I'll send you an email on 28th,
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll respond.
October 20th.
October 28th, 1 to 4, Harper's Landing Park.
Is that a Saturday or Sunday?
It's a Saturday. Okay. Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you.
One other thing to add, I think, I don't recall, Chris noted was on October 24th, the almost for the wastewater treatment plant update. That'll be from 5 to 7.
5 to 7.
Dinner for the first half hour, and then they'll start the meeting at 5:30. So in your packet is a little flyer on it, if you would RSVP to Shelley or he, just so they can order enough food. Everybody.
All right, very good.
I'll be there.
All right. So receive item number 16, receive the Woodlands Water Trustee Report.
All right,
Eric
so.
and Sean.
On the trustee meeting, not as much discussion as the last month, but primarily what was covered was a good long discussion about what Brian had talked about on the municipal policy for investing, distribution, and just how that's handled, wording through the state, things like that. The part that I thought that was the most interesting was there was a discussion on Region H. I initially didn't know what Region H was. Forgive me for my ignorance there, but basically they just talked about what this group, and I don't fully understand exactly what Region H is to this point, but basically what our expected water usage is per acre over the next 25 to 50 years for our area, our larger area, our state, our country. And, it was very impactful because, most of the people on the trustees board are a little bit older, but they have grandkids in the area. So it's nice to be able to make sure that, people 50 years ago thought about where are we going to be. Now we're returning the favor to see, hey, where are they going to be as well? So it's nice that we're paying that forward. The part that I've been looking at for about the last year and a half or so, I think it's on page.
748.
It's one of them for it's one of the SGRA pages on the chlorine. So I've been watching a lot, our chlorine levels, page 19. So page 19 at the top right. About a year ago, they got really high. And I asked Chris's team about it, and they explained on how it peaks in the summer, and basically when they test it, they're just using kind of an average, and actually they're trying a new way of measuring the chlorine at wastewater plant 2. And if it's successful in being more accurate, then they will then transition that to wastewater treatment plant number 3, which is in our neighborhood. Because at one point it was over the 4 max, and now it's right about in the middle. So I'm a lot more comfortable that our families live in that area and they're protected and chlorine levels aren't too high. So that's nice that we're seeing some action there. The other part on the drought. And again, just overall water usage was very inspiring to be able to see how initially as a community where we used all groundwater, and then when we switched to ground and surface water, you can see where it took, it was page 33. where you can see that initially how we use just groundwater. And so it went from the blue to our usage, but you can see the groundwater went significantly down here. So again, it was just inspiring to see how we use our resources, we're protecting our resources and trying not to over tap a particular aquifer. And I get a little confused on exactly which aquifer. I know the Jasper and the Evangeline is one, but which ones recharge, which ones we use for certain purposes in certain areas based on their material makeup of the topography. So all in all, it was very impactful, and we're being good stewards of the resources that we have. And that's why we've also been able to lower our tax rate as well. We're doing the best we can.
Good job.
So that's all I have.
Thank you, Sean. Eric, anything to add to the trustee report?
Oh, that's it.
All right, very good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Item number 17, recess to close session to consult with the district's attorney pursuant to section 551071 of the Texas Government Code. No need. All right, moving on to item number 18. We're back in session because we never left session. And then item number 19, discussion or any matters to be placed on future agendas.
December meeting.
Yeah.
Just to contemplate at that point.
And there was something else that when I was going through everything, I thought, oh, I want to add something to the future agenda, and I forgot what it is now, but I'll email you. All right, anything else? None? Well, thank you, gentlemen, very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
How many wise guys are there that's